welcome back to some more Halo 2 Legendary Deathless action. Today we've got a pretty intense level, so we're gonna get right into it. The first thing I do here is head glitch on top of that door there, and I pay attention to my radar to see when two elites pass by so I know it's safe to progress. And there's kind of a funny little mechanic on this part of the level where if you stand over here in this area up here, right where I'm standing right now, the drones in the previous room will actually despawn after about like 10 to 15 seconds of standing in this area. And as you can see there, my Marine kind of pushed past me, and that's actually not good. I actually wanted to kill him with my sword so that he wouldn't mess up the enemy's behavior, but now that the drones are despawned and the elites are dead, I can hop out of bounds here doing a grenade jump, and I can actually scout out where some of the jackal snipers are. I can look straight through the temple and the jackals actually can't see me because like technically there's an object there, but it's invisible to me, so I can see straight through it. And in this section there are 5 jackals I need to eliminate, so I've already eliminated what I believe to be 2 or 3 jackals so far. And while playing the game, I'm keeping track of how many jackals I kill, because I have to make sure I kill 5 or else they're just gonna decimate me. The jackal snipers are really scary. And so I come over to this section, and as you can see, even though the jackal can see me and is trying to shoot me, he cannot get an angle on me because I'm standing in that in this specific spot right here. And so now that's all 5 jackals dead, and so now I can come over to this section and do what I like to call like a super bunny hop, where I crouch and uncrouch and jump as I fall on that inclined spot back there, and I jump all the way across the bridge, and I skip a ton of combat going that way, skip a ton of enemies, and all I have to do is do a nice little jump over here to the gondola. Now we're gonna do a trick that's called the early gondola board, and it's really dangerous. This is the most scary part of the whole level, but I can kind of mitigate the danger by throwing those sky nades there and throwing a few pre-nades and sticking that final elite as you saw there. And now what I'm doing is delaying a checkpoint. For this next section, I am not 100% sure how to explain what is going on, but it's really simple. I am keeping enemies from spawning. Usually enemies would spawn on this gondola right in this section that I'm in, but because I'm down here and delaying the checkpoint, the enemies aren't going to spawn. And then as soon as I hear that dialogue from Miranda Keys, then I know I'm safe to stop delaying the checkpoint. And by delaying the checkpoint, I mean that I am pressing my melee buttons to trick the game into thinking that I'm in combat, and so it's not going to give me a checkpoint while I'm in combat. And this is where the route like really deviates from the speedrun route. It actually deviated a lot straight from the beginning. If you're doing a speedrun route, you really just want to like YOLO the jackal sniper part and do like a sword fly over to the gondola. But as you might have seen earlier, and I think I'm about to show it here, there is a gondola behind me, which is the one that you're supposed to be on. So by getting on this gondola early, you can skip a ton of enemies and save a lot of time. But if you're doing the speedrun route, you take a little bit of a different route and do what's called a gondola launch, using the other gondola to skip all the way over to this temple. But doing the legendary Deathless strat, it is quite a bit different and much more safe, but it does take some extra time to wait for that gondola to get to the other side. And now here's a bit of a dangerous part. There's jackals in this room, and drones will spawn up here in this little section, but if you're standing up here, then the drones actually won't spawn. So you just have to make sure to not kill too many enemies, because once you kill 3 jackals, then the drones are going to spawn. But if you kill the 3 jackals while you're up there where the drones are supposed to be, then they just won't spawn, because that's just how Halo 2 works. And here some jackals are going to spawn in the elevator down there, and so I was looking down the elevator shaft, and if you pay close attention you can see exactly when they spawn, and as soon as they spawn I just throw a nade on top of them, and easy takes care of those jackals, no problem. And now I take advantage of the elevator having to go down the shaft by hopping over here, and some marines spawn, and so usually what I like to do is try to kill them to get their grenades, which seems kind of cruel, but it does save a little bit of time in the long run. But in that instance I kind of didn't make it to them in time, and so I didn't get any grenades. And you can do that because once the elevator gets down the shaft, it teleports you into the elevator. So that's kind of what happened there, is as soon as the elevator got down there, it just teleported me back in here. And so now here is one of the classic Halo 2 moments where you have to sit and wait for the level to progress. There's no skill involved. There's no skip that I know how to do while you're sitting in here in the water elevator. But it's I believe it's only like 45 seconds per elevator, and there's 2 of them in this level. So unfortunately on Regret there is quite a bit of just like sitting around and waiting, but it's all good. So now in here, in this grunt room, we're gonna line up and do a nice little sword fly, and that is gonna, I mean, that room's not dangerous, but it is nice that there is a way to just skip all of them, and also saves a bit of time. Now this next room is a really dangerous section. There is a ton of dangerous sections on Regret, and this is one of them. That route that I just took, to me, has been the most consistent way to go. Because if that elite with the sword notices you, then the jackals will all just like target you and just kill you instantaneously. And so usually what I like to do is kind of take my time going through that room, and here I'm gonna do another sword fly. These invisible guys, as soon as they spawn, it takes a little bit of time for their invisibility to kick in, and so you can actually get a red reticle and do a sword fly on them if you are fast enough, which I did there, and also took out that sword elite and grabbed his sword. So now I've got a bit more ammunition in my sword, and I'm ready to go for the next section. And this level, I should say as a disclaimer, well, I should have said it at the beginning of the video, but there's just like so much going on in Regret, and it's such a fast-paced level. But the disclaimer is that submitting speedruns for individual levels in Halo 2, you cannot use weapons that you carried over from the previous level. So I already explained this in my Metropolis video, but in Halo 2 there are some levels where you get to carry over your grenades and weapons from the previous level, and this is one of those levels. So I actually purposefully grabbed a sword at the end of Delta Halo so that I would be able to do my sword flies and sword tricks at the beginning. The sword is really important for doing the early gondola board because it makes the enemy scared of you while you're holding it, and so it's really important to have the sword. But in terms of doing an individual level speedrun time, this does not count, and that doesn't really matter to me anyways because this is a legendary Deathless strat. I'm not, you know, if I wanted to do a speedrun to submit to Halo runs, then I would just do a speedrun strat. And here we do a nice little sword cancel, and if you do it perfectly, you can actually fly all the way over that mountain. And since I didn't go over the mountain, I kind of put myself in a bit of a dangerous predicament there. And those carbine elites in the next section kind of lit me up, and to be honest, I'm pretty lucky to live there. Usually I kind of should take my time a little more and make sure that the carbine elites aren't going to target me like they were. And here I almost jump off the edge, and I would have been so upset, but Luckily, I clutch it out and I don't die. I don't kill myself. And now in this next section, I really want to make sure I have the rocket launcher because I'm going to have to take out some banshees here. These banshees will kill you instantaneously if you don't take care of them. And as you can see, sometimes, depending on the rank of the elite, they can die in like 1 shot or 2 shots, or sometimes even 3 shots if you get unlucky. And that time it took 3 shots, but it was only because one of the rockets missed. And now there's going to be a bunch of really dangerous enemies spawning on this gondola here. So I go ahead and like pre-fire with my rocket launcher and grab this battle rifle. The most dangerous enemies here are grunts with fuel rod cannons. And so the battle rifle is really effective for that. As you can see, I saw that grunt walking back there with the fuel rod, and he shoots at me and almost gets me. Those guys are really dangerous. You really have to make sure you dodge the fuel rod cannon shots because they will kind of like track you. They have like heat-seeking properties, it seems like, and so you really have to like get the heck out of the way because they will kill you in 1 shot, and they have a ton of splash damage. So it's like the fuel rod in this game is like the equivalent of a plasma grenade from Halo Combat Evolved, to be honest. Like the splash range is just ridiculous. And here we have another section where we're waiting just a little bit on the gondola, and here a speedrunner would use these grunts to sword fly over there and kind of skip this wait. But we are going to be doing a strat that is completely different from the speedrun route and is very, very cool. I don't know who came up with this strat, but where I saw it was from Jervalen, surprise, surprise, the king of Halo 2 Deathless. It's a really interesting sword fly that gets you into this temple early and doesn't skip enemy spawns, but it makes it to where you can control when they spawn. And so here it is. So I keep all of those enemies alive because I'm gonna use them to sword fly, and I'm gonna do a very specific lineup here. But the first thing I have to do is make sure that there's an enemy in the spot that I want them to be. And it looks like just because of random behavior, the enemies aren't immediately in the spot that I want them to be, but I can kind of manipulate that. I can kind of stir them up by throwing a grenade like I did just now. And now that grunt I want to sword fly off of. But unfortunately this elite is in the way. So this is like the most unfortunate thing to happen because it's a white elite that takes 4 shots to the head to kill with a sniper. Now I'm doing a very specific lineup because of the grunt. If it was a jackal, I would do a slightly different lineup. But with the grunt, we do that lineup and we do a redirect sword fly just like that through the window in the temple, and we are in early. And so this is where the boss fight is going to happen. And since we skipped the trigger to spawn in all the enemies by flying into the window early, and so now we can use that to our advantage. And we can, since we're in the temple early, we can come in here and do a strat that is very tedious, but is 100% worth it, especially if you're on a marathon run. This really helps a lot. This next fight is one of the most dangerous sections of the entire game, and you can make it basically a cakewalk by doing this strat, by moving these columns with your sword, or even if you have the frag grenades from the Marines earlier, that can push the columns a lot quicker than just like pushing them like I am here. But I'm just kind of doing what I gotta do. You push these columns in front of these doors here, and these doors are where the biggest threats of the boss fight are going to spawn. This is where the elites spawn out of, and so if you block the door, then the elites can't walk through the door, so they can't enter the room. So they can still shoot at you if they see you, but you just keep that in mind and you just don't give them an angle while you're doing the boss fight, because they can either have swords or they can have plasma rifles, or if you're really unlucky, the elites can spawn with 2 plasma rifles, like dual wield plasma rifles. And if that's the case, then they just, on Legendary, they just kill you in like a quarter of a second. And so you really don't take any chances, or at least I don't for my Deathless strat. To be honest, it's kind of like Weenie Hut Jr. strats, because if you get really good at the boss fight, then you can do it pretty consistently without dying. But I'm still pretty new to doing the Halo 2 Deathless strats, and so this is the strat that I'm using for now. Later on, I might experiment with figuring out a consistent way to do the boss fight without having to do this, because it does take like 3 minutes to set up this boss fight, pushing these columns into place. So it is a bit annoying, and and by the end of it, my wrist is like hurting because I'm spamming the R button so fast. So now I've done 4 columns, blocked 4 doors. So now when the elites spawn, they're not going to be able to enter the room, and it's much safer. And so now I can now I spawn in all the enemies by standing in a specific place to trigger their spawn. And these 2 sword elites are the only elites that are going to be inside of this room. Now the only enemies that are going to be in here are going to be the boss, Regret, the Prophet Regret, and some grunts. And so the grunts can be dangerous because they can throw nades just like that. As you saw, that's one of the scariest things, is that the grunts just like chunk a bunch of nades at you. And so if you're not careful, if you're like standing still for too long, they will just like stick you in the face and kill you, which has happened to me. And so now all you have to do is board Regret and hit him 20 times. And that can either be with a grenade, or your sword, or by boarding him and punching him in the face like I did there. And so far this has been like a really slow boss fight. It seems kind of random where he spawns. So he'll kind of like teleport like that, and then you have no idea where he's going to spawn next. But with experience, you do kind of figure out that there is a bit of a pattern to where he teleports to, depending on where you're standing. So right here, something I figured out is if you stand in that spot there, he will usually spawn pretty close to you. And also if you stand back here, then you can kind of see exactly where he spawns. And I wanted to go for a sword fly there to just, you know, just speed up the process a little bit, but it's like super risky. If you don't do it really fast, then Regret will shoot at you with his cannon thing, and that cannon will basically one-shot you. Like if he gets his hands on you, then you are dead. And as you can see there, something crazy happened. That elite with the plasma rifle actually made it inside of the temple, which actually scared the shit out of me. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And it looks like a grenade or Regret accidentally moved the column out of the way, and so he actually escaped from my little strat where I'm blocking the door, which has actually never happened to me. I've done that boss fight like 100 times and I've never seen that. But there you have it. It scared the shit out of me, but I kind of adapted to it, and I knew that the boss fight was going to be over with one more board. So I knew I didn't have to kill him. I just had to board Regret, and that should never happen again. If that ever happens again, I would be surprised, but it is what it is. Well, guys, that was a bit of a long one. Regret is like a really long gauntlet with a bunch of scary parts. But we are done with that. And next mission is going to be Sacred Icon. So look forward to that. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you there. Peace.